On today's Truth Hour, the bombshell that is the Uranium deal exposed. The Clinton pay-to-play kickbacks from the Russians for Uranium. Also, Judicial Watch scores a victory in disclosing documents that actually connect and tie Bill Clinton and Laura Lynch's tarmac meeting together.
And Campos, back from missing to show up only on the wonderful Ellen DeGeneres show. And how about Christian persecution? Is it still going on? Is there evidence about it? This and much more on the Truth Hour.
Something really wrong is going on.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on?
I want the truth.
Welcome, everybody. We appreciate you being here this morning. Lauren, we see you on there. Hey, welcome, my friend. Welcome to the Truth Hour. I'm Shane Jameson.
I'm David Eagle.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, guys, on this beautiful day. Politically jam-packed day. Tons of things going on this past week since our last episode, and we are excited to dive in. I guess, Dave, we'll just jump right in here. The latest news that has really rocked the nation, it's really been news. It's been going on for a number of years, but The Hill disclosed, The Hill reported some pretty damning information surrounding the Uranium deal as it pertains to the Obama administration, and more specifically Hillary Clinton as she was Secretary of State. Mm-hmm. I don't know, we could do a short recap on that, Dave, but everybody...
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, so Uranium this was a deal that was set in place. This was originally, I believe, a Canadian-owned company that ended up, through various channels and avenues, ended up having 20% of its 20% of the company, or 20% we could equivalent that to, actually 20% of the uranium mined by Uranium is now officially secured by the Russians and has been for a number of years. And front and center in the middle of all of that is Hillary Clinton, the Obama administration, Eric Holder, and probably Mueller and a number of other officials that were part of the FBI investigating these supposed kickbacks. They actually had an informant on the inside that they were basically paid to play. And what ended up happening, 20% of U.S. mined uranium is owned by Putin and the Russians. And it was supposedly under the umbrella of being secure and that uranium would never leave the States. But it's been reported as of late as last night on Hannity's show and other outlets that a portion of that 20% has actually went abroad outside of these borders to undisclosed locations.
Because Russia owns it.
Because
so they
Russia
can do with what they want, right?
You would think.
You would think. And I'm sure that is not going to be used for medical research.
Yeah, I mean, what do you use uranium for, guys? I mean, what is that, Dave? I mean, my mind, what is that?
Weaponry.
I was going to say, no, I thought it was something simple, like, it's just a normal everyday chemical, right, guys?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
No, it makes nuclear weapons possible. The form of yellow cake. Yellow cake is the refined, I believe, after the fact processing of uranium, and then it's further down the weaponized path to being used as yellow cake, and then there's further steps that go after that, but supposedly that's where we're at. So, and I find this so ironic, Dave. This is the true Russian collusion story. This is the true Russian national security at jeopardy story that has been going on, that is factually provable without a doubt, and yet we've got Mueller and all these other factions that are still pursuing this rat race that is this joke of collusion between the Trump administration and the Russians that is fabricated out of thin air in some fake dossier.
Yeah, and it's to change your perspective.
Right.
You sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Kind of work, and so
wink and a nod.
If I can make all these things, point to Trump and Russia's influence in the election, it's going to take eyes off of what's actually happening, where millions of dollars.
Yeah.
This one report that you guys are looking at right there, $145 million
kickbacks to the foundation directly. Now, you know who that's from. That's from That's from basically investors if you're in a room. And, hey, welcome, Aaron, if you can hear us. I see you on there. Said you're having a hard time getting us. Please keep trying. We appreciate you, my friend, for joining us. So that's $145 million, Dave, kicked back directly to the Clinton Foundation, and then that coincides with the fact that instantly after this deal is secured, Eric Holder signs off on the deal. All the other entities within that vet this process that basically just stepped aside and let it happen. After this all happens, guess what happened overnight? Bill Clinton's speaking fees more than double. He does an instant speech and is paid from a Russian entity or bank for $500,000 to do a speech.
But conservatives are the bad people because we don't help people in need, but we're pulling in $500,000 for a speech, and we're pulling in $145 million of property that wasn't theirs.
Yeah,
and I think that's telling of the thing is, taking the United States uranium and then selling it. It wasn't hers to begin with.
It was American
selling it
people's.
And getting $145 million into your own foundation so you can run for the president of the United States.
Well, and you know what the end game was. This is along with all the other pay-to-play events that is the Clinton Foundation that has basically all but screeched to a halt. Because why? Because Clinton didn't win the presidency. It's pretty simple. So you got all of these situations, and welcome TM Skills. We appreciate you. So we have all these situations tied back to when Hillary Clinton was in the Obama administration, Secretary of State. This goes through Benghazi. This goes through all these other countries that were literally paying millions. And here is the biggest cake of them all, $145 million. And she's selling our national security interest. If that's not criminal, then throw me in jail.
I just like to throw you in jail.
I know you. You want to shut me up.
It's I'm sure there's some, right? There has to be some silver lining to this of, hey, maybe that $145 million went back in the economy because she purchased
through the Clintons.
Oh yeah, she purchased television time for her campaign, and so that recycled money.
Yeah, there's
probably just went back to Weinstein somehow.
You just nailed a good point. So what better way to fund a presidency than from fake kickbacks and money and donations to a foundation that's a front to pay to play? Add that up. I mean, that's exactly what helped fund her presidency. Years of manipulation and corruption and pay to play and kickbacks in the form of millions of dollars that then is filtered back into a what I consider a fake campaign, a horrible and corrupt campaign.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she still lost. And she still lost.
Free.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she still lost.
Yeah. I mean, she spent I forget, and we didn't even put this in, Dave, and you can leave that up or whatever, but there's one point I was going to talk to you about. Where is that? Oh, yeah. So the left is hanging on to everything that it can actually put any kind of relevance into to say that that's why they lost. And the newest thing is that Russians bought a lot of spots on Facebook. And it's been they've done some really quick research on this and investigated it. It's a drop in the bucket, guys. It's been disclosed that the Russians have spent approximately $100,000 in the course of the election on Facebook ads. Now, here's where that gets dicey.
On whose behalf? On Trump's
we don't
behalf?
Know. No, they don't know. I said, but we're not even going to go there yet. But they spent $100,000 on Facebook ads. And everybody on the left is raising cane, saying that $100,000 went to basically key swing states. Okay, but that's been disproven. Only half was actually paid for of that $100,000 on ads. Only a half of that $100,000 or half of those ads were actually during the election, and half of them were actually after the election. And of those, even a smaller portion were in key swing states. So if you look at the overall expense in the election total on both sides of the aisle, $2.4 billion approximately is what's spent. You got $100,000? You call that a drop in the bucket?
That's pocket change when you're looking at that much money.
Isn't that crazy?
That is.
That's crazy. Lauren, yeah.
TM Skills says that the Chinese and Saudis also contributed huge money to her failed press campaign. Yet she is the champion for women and human rights.
You just nailed it. Yes.
Both those nations have some of the worst abuses. And that's the hypocrisy of the left. That and so many other things that I just can't grasp. I mean, we talk about Weinstein, right?
Yeah,
And
Weinstein.
how
It's
many
another good story.
times have we heard about not Bill Clinton, but Trump? And, the things that he had said about women that were recorded some time ago.
Yeah.
And, he's just a horrible man. He's a horrible man. We're protesting him, and we're standing up for women's rights. And, okay, I understand that. No woman should ever have to go through sexual assault, no rape,
Agreed, exactly.
and harassment.
Yeah.
Nobody should, men nor women. It's disgraceful for those things to happen. But here is an audio recorded of a man who is pushing himself on a woman, not just something he had said.
Yeah, proven over years.
and they're silent.
Yeah, yep. The crickets are chirping.
Where
y'all hear that? The crickets
is
chirping.
Hollywood? Where is the left protesting Weinstein and all these things? They're coming out slowly about these things, but you don't have these huge masses of parades and outcry.
Yeah.
And it's just, we see this. She takes in money from all these places that
oppress women.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
Sharia law. They're backers of Sharia.
Cover yourself.
Cover yourself.
Don't talk to a man.
Beatings. Discipline.
And this is, that I fail to remember her name. You guys might know it. She was raped. She out there in the Middle East. The young lady was raped by a man, but yet she was the one that was stoned because she was raped. Because now she's worthless.
Well, and because that discredits her husband, and it's so it's just But back to that, Clinton is the champion, like you said. A great plug there, TM Skills. I mean, I've actually stated that countless times. We had Hillary, the champion of women's rights, taking kickbacks from countries that oppress women, Sharia law,
and Weinstein
refuses to give that money back, refuses to even discuss it, is still married to a guy that. During his allegations, when Bill Clinton had actually committed these things and all the people were coming out and actually accusing, she stood side by side with her husband to degrade and demean the very women that were trying to stand up and say that this man had done this. Where was she then?
Yeah.
So, we could go on and on and on about that. But, guys, here's the biggest thing. What's the best way to get out from underneath, to deflect and negate the spotlight being on you for something that you've done? What's the best way to get out from under that? Accuse your adversary of the very same thing. So look at what they've done. They got the spotlight on Trump for nothing. There's this dossier that came out that this whole investigation for a year, guys, millions and millions of dollars have been spent. Mueller, that was actually tied back in, he was leading the FBI during the Uranium Deal under Obama.
Okay.
He's plugging this now. He's pushing this. You want to talk about conflict of interest? There's so many people in the FBI that need to be fired or need to resign or recuse themselves. Period. End of sentence. On this. There is too much corruption going on, guys, and they're focusing on smoke and mirrors. What the Dems like to do is they like to look for they always say look for the smoking gun. Typically, investigations start with what, Dave? Evidence first. Why doesn't that apply to Trump?
It's because we want to rate the story.
The narrative first.
Yeah. And then this
try
is
to
what
find
you're
the
supposed to
evidence.
think. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me how things happened, and then I'll know what to believe before I go before the trial.
Yeah.
And to say what I need to say in order to make this statement come true.
Yeah. Yeah, good points there, Lauren. Trying to see what you said there. Yeah, you were agreeing to TM Skills. Aaron, we hope we hadn't lost you, my friend. Keep trying. What else we want to talk about? We keep really and here's...
What's tied into that?
Uranium One. Well, yeah, we were going to talk about also. The Clintons is such... It is in itself its own entity and can be discussed forever. But let's tie another one in. So Judicial Watch is a foundation, an organization, and I forget the gentleman's name that is the president of that. It's a great organization. They have, through the Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA, have finally been able to uncover 30 documents that actually prove that Bill Clinton did meet with Loretta Lynch on that tarmac in Arizona days before, at about the same time that Comey was constructing his letter of exoneration to release Hillary Clinton from any wrongdoing in this supposed investigation. You want to talk about an absolute atrocity, an absolute joke, how all that could coincide, and the Clintons meet with Lynch days before. Comey exonerates and goes on there and says no reasonable prosecutor would proceed. They'd already made their mind up. They already basically washed their hands of it. And here's the proof.
Tried to hide and scrub all the evidence that was there, but failed
miserably.
Failed to do that.
But how are we supposed to believe this, though? Because Judicial Watch gets 30 documents, and kudos to them. They're a great organization and fighting for the truth, and I stand behind anybody that does that. But how are we to believe anything that any of these entities say, like on the inside, like the FBI, 30 documents? There might be 3,000. And supposedly everything that they're getting is half redacted. Yeah.
Well, just not that long ago, just shy of just a little over a year, I suppose, the whole email scandal. It was only a few emails that were sent back and forth.
Right.
That were classified, that were sent over an unsecured server. And, just this small little amount. And then it grew and grew as they continued to dig. And so, these 30 pages, like you said, how many more are there going to be that are coming out with this? But,
right.
Did we really need any more evidence, I suppose, about Clinton meeting with Lynch? There were pictures and video evidence back when it happened.
Exactly.
But it's all just trying to be pushed under the rug. And, it's my hope and prayer that these people change. But how many times do we see, people who like this that are just corrupt and only looking out for themselves, only looking out for number one?
Yeah.
They continue to live a life that is full of lies, a life that is full of evil and wickedness.
It self-perpetuates.
Yeah. Yeah, because they want to continue into that lifestyle of, I can get $145 billion.
Cover this
by
lie
selling
up with
something.
these 5 lies and that 10 lies, and pay people off to lie,
and maybe they get away with it.
Yeah.
For all of their life,
but
right?
They still got to answer to God.
That's just it. Maybe there's not going to be enough evidence to culminate together for somebody to say, we need to throw these people in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people have died hiding evidence?
Half as much as this, or a third, or nothing.
For the Clintons. All these people just kind of randomly showing up dead, who were part of their faction.
Yeah.
And but I mean, the reality of it is, as we stand before the judgment seat of Christ,
yep.
We have to give an answer for things done in the body, both good, as the Apostle Paul says, and bad.
You can play pinochle on earth. You can keep shoveling.
Yeah.
And then at some point, it's time to turn those over and show exactly what your hand is, and that's when that happens. And one last thing on that. So they've actually, and we didn't have this in there either, but we can discuss it briefly. So they supposedly have uncovered another multiple thousands of emails on Uba Abedin's laptop. I didn't actually give that to you, Dave. I apologize leaving you short on that. But I saw that on Fox yesterday. They found more emails, Clinton emails, Aberdeen emails on a laptop. Anthony Weiner's laptop, basically. So that keeps paying, quote unquote, dividends. Badly. I mean, you don't talk. How many instances did Clinton put the national security of this country at odds with the world? How many times? I've lost count.
Countless times.
But Trump has a conversation, or doesn't even know. No, I take that back. Trump supposedly has had, some affiliates or family or the administration in some aspect might have had had a conversation with a diplomat, or might have had a conversation with that. Jeff Sessions is getting interviewed yesterday about all this, and he's getting grilled. Did you have any information or conversations or discussions with blah blah blah? And they're putting that up against this
with
nothing to back it.
Yeah. With servers that were easily hacked, with weaponry that sold, and it's just our nation's security, no doubtly compromised over and over and over again
Yeah.
because of selfish actions.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Just trying to get ahead.
Well, so that's it in a nutshell on Russia and Clinton. I mean, there's a lot more to come in the next few weeks. I think this is really, if they want to talk about throwing stuff up against the wall and seeing what sticks, every bit of this you throw up against the wall sticks. Can't say so much whatever they throw up against the wall about Trump, but there will be more, and we will be one of the first avenues here and outlets to bring it to you weekly. Wish we could do this more often, guys, but this is all we have right now. So stay tuned for that. And then what else you want to talk about, Dave?
We've got a video.
Oh, yes, we do.
This is a Truth Hour radio first.
We have upgraded, guys.
We'll see if it works.
We're legit.
Let's put it that way. This is a video of from Fox News.
Yesterday, of course.
Fox and Friends.
Actually.
Yeah, it played yesterday, and it is about Christian persecution. Johnny Moore has written a book, and you'll see this in the interview.
Yeah, he's a great trooper.
The current persecution that's going on in the world. When we live here in the United States, we really don't experience persecution.
We're insulated from that.
We are. I think some of our worst persecution is probably, people calling us Bible thumpers or
family
idiots. Yeah, or idiots for believing in some kind of ancient book. But real Christian persecution,
like biblical type persecution, is still happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nate says, video within a stream, mixture style.
Yeah. Hey, Nate, welcome, man.
Hey, until we see if it works.
Yeah. Well, don't thank us until you see it.
Yeah.
And if it's all jacked up and the audio's messed up, you can thank Dave.
That's right. All right. Hold on, guys.
We're going to pause. Here we go.
Wait a second. I got to bring the video up on this side, and then we got to hit play. See, there we go.
All right.
We got the picture up.
All right, here we go, guys. Enjoy this.
All right, you got a report revealing Christian persecution at an all-time high. Get this, every month 322 Christians are murdered because they're Christians, and 214 churches destroyed because they're Christian churches by ISIS and other terror groups. Just add them all together. But in the face of evil, we're learning of incredible stories of holding on to your faith. The brand new book out now chronicles all this. It calls to the martyr's oath. Living for the Jesus they're willing to die for, has firsthand stories about that. I'm talking about Johnny Moore, who's always go to some of the worst places around, Johnny, and trying to help those who are really under siege. First off, tell me some of the places you've been and what you've witnessed.
Yeah, well, I mean, the statistics are staggering, right? I mean, we've now lost 80% of the Christians in Iraq. We've lost 50% in Syria. In a generation and a half, we've lost 99% of the Christians in Turkey. In Egypt right now, we're seeing a massive escalation of Christian persecution. So I went documenting all of these statistics and stories and, what exactly is happening. But I also went looking for stories of hope and perseverance in the face of all of this, because the terrorists are trying to destroy Christianity, and in the end, all they're doing is they're actually making us stronger.
Give me an example.
Well, just in Egypt, in the last couple of months, I mean, ISIS has moved into the Sinai. I mean, they moved out 200 families from the northern Sinai. They bombed dozens and dozens of churches. They attacked a whole busload of Christians going to a monastery. 2 days ago, they knifed to death a priest in the streets, and yet the churches are still filled. On Good Friday, they killed dozens of Christians, and yet on Easter Sunday, you couldn't put another Christian in a church in Egypt because the Christians refuse to be terrorized. They just won't be intimidated. And so it's the best of times and the worst of times.
And also when it came to refugees, they weren't prioritized over the last 8 years before President Trump took office. What was that like? Because you were actually trying to help them.
Yeah, and the Obama administration, frankly, didn't care at all. I mean, they literally didn't care at all. They blocked us from bringing a nun to testify to Congress about the atrocities she witnessed in Iraq. But not the case with President Trump. I mean, mean, President Trump and the Trump administration care about this issue entirely. And, the truth is, Trump is on the path to solve the Syrian crisis, to solve the North Korean crisis, potentially. North Korea is the #1 persecutor of Christians.
Even though Hillary Clinton was in South Korea criticizing our sitting president, which is unbelievable.
Insane. I mean, Kim Jong-un and his father and grandfather have built their dictatorship on the backs and blood of Christians. There's 70,000 Christians in prison right now. I mean, imagine if Trump solves the Syrian crisis, solves North Korea, and then very easily he could save Christianity in the Middle East. If a simple presidential directive, ordering aid to help rebuild the Christian communities, a coordinator to make sure it all gets done. I mean, he could end up with the Nobel Peace Prize.
But meanwhile, you said that the door is always open to the White House, to the evangelical community. It's even today. The name of the book is The Martyr's Oath, Living for the Jesus They're Willing to Die For. Johnny Moore doesn't just write about it. He lives it, sees it, and then chronicles it. Johnny, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Very brave guy.
We back on?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Yeah. Powerful piece there Brian Kilmeade did with Johnny Moore, I believe. What a bunch of great work this gentleman's doing. I mean, he's not just reporting it. He's on the front lines living it and then reporting it. Look at the atrocity that's happening around the world. And welcome, Big Blue. We saw your response there as well, and we do welcome you here today to the Truth Hour. Please like us. Please follow us. Please share us with those around you and to your friends and family. So look at the atrocities, Dave, that everybody's like, and Dave had a good point before we went into this segment. We think about a Christian persecution here in the States. Oh my gosh, my family disowned me. Oh my gosh, I lost my job. The gentleman that, whatever. That's not persecution, guys. Biblical persecution. I mean, that is persecution. I'm sorry. I don't want to take anything away from that. But when somebody loses their life, is brutally murdered, butchered, tortured, raped, the countless things go on. I mean, that is biblical persecution and torture, and that is happening every single day. Be glad for the things God has blessed you with, because it is bad out there, guys.
And it's happening with the disguise of helping out, right? Like Big Blue is mentioning, Poland not accepting these, and I like how you do it, quote unquote, refugees. We have we have these people that are saying that they are being persecuted and they're leaving their home because of ravaged with war. But then you see the pictures of who these people are, and it's not the women and children that we would expect.
Not all.
It's full of
middle-aged,
full-grown, healthy,
fighting
men.
Status, age,
and then you see going down to all these different countries, and we've seen this explosion of things happening in London and Paris.
Open borders
throughout the Europe, of just the atrocities happening where these people have come in and are driving out Christians, and you see this video of this continuing to go on. 99% of the Christians run out of Turkey. It's just been overrun.
Yeah.
But as Mr. Moore had said, that it's only backfiring. And we look at that as an example in the scriptures in the book of Acts, where the apostles, were teaching about Jesus and Jesus crucified. And the Sanhedrin says, "Don't you dare mention Jesus again." And it says, they counted it all joy, brethren, that we were able to suffer persecution.
For Christ's sake.
Because of that persecution and being spread out, Christianity grew. And it continued to grow and continued to grow. And we see that again today. Because of the persecution, Christians continue to stand up against evil and against sin, and people are beginning again to gravitate towards God through Christ Jesus.
I agree with that. 100%. And to add to that, if y'all listen to that pretty closely, Johnny Moore He's got firsthand experience, guys. This isn't hearsay. Johnny Moore is actually alluding to the fact that under the Obama administration, this problem was ignored.
Oh, absolutely.
But what did he put front and center?
Not only ignored, I think it was increased.
Yeah. What did Obama put front and center above the persecution of the Christians? He put the persecutions of supposed persecutions of he put the persecutors up front. Mm-hmm. He put the supposed persecution of the Muslims.
And Christians should be quiet. Right, we should be quiet and not talk about our Christianity faith because it offends those people who are doing the persecuting.
Yeah, but
if we are quiet, then the persecutors will stop.
Exactly. Yeah, but let's let a bunch. And then here's the other thing. It is our tradition to welcome refugees. We are a country of immigrants. Okay, but there is a vetting process that has to happen. The greatest mass exodus since World War II has happened in the country of Syria, and it's because of the lack of application and leading from the front that the Obama administration lacked. Drawing a red line in the sand, Assad gassed his people, nothing happened. Mm-hmm. That country has lost hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of its own citizens under the Assad regime. In comes to that void ISIS, in comes to that void the Russian influence. And Obama buried his head in the sand, acted as if nothing was happening. And you want to talk about, here's the question. It's not that we should be taking these refugees or we shouldn't. The problem would never have happened if good leaders around the world, i.e. the United States, would have put a coalition together and defended sovereign territory inside of Syria for these people, these good people, to go. They would have been able to stay in their own country. There would be no need for a mass exodus and then the subsequent immigration problems into Europe, the atrocities that have happened. These people didn't ever want to leave their home. They wanted to stay where they were born. And now they're in other countries that they're not assimilated into, they're not familiar with. So there's also an issue there, right? I mean, so fix the problem to begin with. We should have stood up for these people before they had to leave their country, but Obama ignored them, and thousands and hundreds of thousands were slaughtered. It's an absolute atrocity.
Big Blue, I'm glad you're able to be with us today. He says that's why we in Poland are not accepting these quote-unquote refugees, which you mentioned a minute ago. They are mostly economic immigrants, mostly men, very few women and children.
There you go.
And he adds, you can only be a refugee to the first country you go to for protection. And when these people were interviewed, they all looked wealthy and had aspirations of heading to London, France, and Germany. I wonder why. You know, they're not worried about these smaller areas where the populations are low. They want to infiltrate these large cities,
right,
where they can do the most damage.
Well, Dave,
then he adds that England is having a really bad time with these quote-unquote refugees.
Yeah.
And they have more and more Sharia patrols at night.
Yeah. Well, let's be to be honest here, though, and we want to be in great points, but we need to be sure and be specific that of this mass exodus, guys, we're talking small, extremely small percentages of bad people within this. And if ISIS elements or Al-Qaeda had, and they've even said that they would infiltrate the mass exodus and try to get into these countries, and that's where a lot of these attacks have happened overseas.
Yeah.
But let's make one thing absolutely certain, that a majority of these people from Syria that fled the atrocity that was the Assad regime were and are good people. But there is a small portion that we can't understand exactly how many that have infiltrated into this, that are going all over the world in the refugee program. So in step Trump. He wants to put on these specific bans in certain areas of the world, which is getting kicked back and pushed back, but it's ridiculous. These places don't have a proper vetting process, and we're just going to say, come on over. Are you kidding me? We're asking for trouble.
Right.
That's what. Look no further than the recent attacks over in London and all these other places.
Right.
They just said, please come in. We'll take all comers. We don't care who you are. We don't care what you are. And we don't care what you're about. Please come in. And they are paying for that now.
Yeah, and as Big Blue says, look what's happened in England. Why is there Sharia patrols at night? Is London not doing their their job to pull in their laws? Absolutely they are. And so there's no need for these Sharia patrols and other than for these regimes
Right.
to want to take over the rules, put their law in, and to
Right.
take over eventually the
Right.
country. We can show that.
Looks good. He's just mentioning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good point there, Big Blue. And Lauren as well. Yeah, it only takes one. Here's the point. The bad guys only got, that's a great point. I want to jump on that real fast, Lauren. It's a great point. The bad guys only got to get it right once. They've only got to sneak one guy in that has intent.
That's why.
One
I
guy.
vet them, yes.
You don't. So we have to be 100%. They only have to be 1%.
Yeah.
And people want to understand why they can get up every day and enjoy the freedom and the breath of fresh air and go about their business without persecution in this country. But then they take for granted the very processes that we have in place with the government that we've elected to try to enforce those.
Right.
But we want to kick back on that. There's a reason why you have to be tough, and it has to be proper and done right.
Yeah. And here's the hypocrisy again. You see that left hypocrisy where we need to open our borders and accept these people in because they're hurting and they
Their
need
votes.
help.
Their
Okay,
votes.
they do need help, but we have a process to go through. So we need to make sure we close our borders and only allow those people
Yes.
to come in that we can trust. Because the process is put in place. Because how many of those people that say we need to open our borders and bring them all in, how many of those people will lock their doors at night? And how many of those people will lock their car when they go into the store?
Yeah, if we put
Aren't you doing the exact same thing?
Yeah, if we put
You
half
are
those
limiting people coming into your home and taking your food
Yeah.
because for helping them. They would come in your home and they would get the food that they need and they will leave. No, they won't.
Yeah.
They'll steal your TV and your computer.
Would Obama let a portion of those unvetted refugees come stay on the White House lawn? Would Biden put him in his front yard? Would Holder have a significant portion of them
Have
in
they
his
done
front
that
yard?
yet?
Would they have a bed and breakfast open for them?
I haven't seen
You kidding
money
me?
come out of their pockets or out of their foundations to help the people in Texas and Florida.
Exactly.
Or in
why ain't they fast tracking the Christians around the world to get here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why didn't they fast track the process and at least put them to the top of the crop? Well, you don't see Christians, and you don't see it in Scripture, and you don't see it played out, that Christians around the world are going around committing these atrocities in the name of God. So don't tell me that you can't put Christians at the top of the list to get them out of harm's way before a supposed and suspected people that we haven't had a chance to vet.
Right.
I mean, period, end of sentence. And great points there, Big Blue. What else you saying there? We're going to read that.
He says it's interesting how the liberals, the leftists don't believe in borders. I remember when I used to be a leftist, It was horrible.
Hey, great conversion there, my friend. Welcome.
That's right. I was thinking, welcome back from the dark side.
We should play like some kind of music.
One of
It's awesome.
just kind of on this topic of Christian persecution and these atrocities that really continue to happen over and over and over again. I'm continually reminded from the scripture that Paul writes to the church of Thessalonica, and this comes from the book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 1. A reminder of what was going on to those Christians then, and it's the same thing that we need to be reminded about. Maybe not so much here in the United States, but throughout the world when we see our brothers and sisters in Christ being persecuted. He says that. I'll just begin in verse 3. I'm going to read a pretty good paragraph of scripture. He says, "We are bound to thank God always for you, brethren, as is fitting, because of your faith grows exceedingly, and that the love of every one of you abounds towards each other, so that we ourselves boast of you among the churches of God, for your patience of faith, and in your persecutions and tribulations that you endure, which is manifest evidence of the righteous judgment of God, that you may be counted worthy of the kingdom of God, for which you also suffer." And so he's talking about people who are being persecuted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
being persecuted and going through tribulations, going through difficulties, simply because of their faith. The very same thing that Johnny Moore was talking about there in that video clip in his book. But then we also remember this, the promise that Paul says about God. And he says, since it is a righteous thing with God, right? It is right. It is just for God to do this, to repay with tribulation those who trouble you.
Absolutely.
And to give you who are troubled rest. When the Lord Jesus is revealed from heaven with his mighty angels in flaming fire, taking vengeance on those who do not know God and those who do not obey the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, and in context also those people who are persecutors, they shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of our Lord and from the glory of his power when he comes in that day to be glorified in his saints and to be admired among all those who believe.
Great topics there. Hey, Lauren. Hey, man, I got to get on my phone occasionally, bro. All right.
But
Dave gets off in scripture really good and has some good scripture. I have to check things.
That's right. He's got to make sure I'm reading what is.
Oh,
right.
yeah, I was vetting Dave.
But we need to remember that even though all these horrible things are going on because of persecution, Christianity can grow if we are grounded in our faith, and to remember that vengeance is mine. God will repay.
God actually gets that. So, Dave, good time to. We've really hashed that really good. All that other stuff. We do actually want to touch base on a couple of things there with the ongoing Vegas massacre and what I consider an absolute debacle of an investigation. And and this, so funny. So I'm a big follower of Laura Loomer. She is doing some really good investigative work out there. She asks the hard questions that the rest of the mainstream media won't. And so she had this piece, and there's this snippet here. Campos, Jesus Campos, whatever his name is, was missing, MIA for days. Supposed hero in the massacre. Laura Loomer did some investigating, shows up at his residence. There is basically a Deputy Dewey security service that is protecting him. Now you tell me, armed guard protecting people from coming up and from him leaving. And this was 3 days ago. And Laura's there, and so the story is, it's like, what hero, guys, do you know of that needs protection? If he's a hero,
yeah.
Why wouldn't he be out? And so, anyways, this all started.
Guards outside your house.
Yeah, he was supposed to do an interview with Sean Hannity and a couple of other outlets about 3 or 4 days back, and literally minutes before the interview, just bolted. Nobody knew where he was. Well, so this reporter, Laura Loomer, went out, found his residence, and kind of just stepped up and was walked up and actually knocked at one point, and then this security service walked up and gave him a bunch of spiel. So, anyways, long story short, then he's missing. Well, he finally comes back and surfaces. Well, guys, guess where he ends up surfacing, and where a guy that's supposed hero of the worst massacre in U.S. history. Where does he choose? Where does MGM probably choose for him to have his interview done? None other than the Ellen DeGeneration show. I call her Ellen DeGeneration instead of Ellen DeGeneres. Degenerate. And it's funny, guys. Go find that show. I think it was last night or this morning, whatever. So it starts out, it's a joke. You would think that this would headline her show, and she would have this tone of solace and maybe some remorse and some sincerity and some seriousness about her. No, the show starts out with a bunch of ridiculousness of talking about lesbian sex, drugs, kittens, dumb stuff, and then
hookers. Hookers was something.
And then Campos and this other guy come on, and they're
would we expect anything less?
Exactly.
From that as Lauren said, that leftist show.
Exactly. Why wouldn't they go on the Sean Hannity show?
We call things left and right, but it's immoral.
It's right or wrong, not left. Yeah.
And we don't expect. I don't expect. At least me. I don't expect anything less from seeing those things on that television show. But it's just odd. He's gone. Nobody knows where this dude is at.
Or it was. He's back now.
And then,
yeah,
there he is. Hey, he's on Ellen's.
Yeah. Well, that and we looked at a little bit of it, Dave, before we logged on today and went live.
Yeah.
It was almost like it wasn't really an interview. I mean, she did kind of let him have an open forum for a few minutes, but it was almost like, here, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to insinuate what I think happened, and then you can either agree or disagree.
Right.
That's not an interview. That's me basically enabling your answers.
Well, he was too broken up to be able to talk.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting hugged by this other guy. I don't know what that's about, but we don't even know. But the point is, so anyways, let's get into this real quick. So he finally shows up. I mean, I just think that this stinks to high heaven, guys. I think the timeline's off. I think there's still a number of minutes between in the timeline of when this shooter was, the actual shooter, Paddock, if that's even what the truth is, was found, and when and then radioed for help, and then the actual police were called. There's a huge gap in time. One can conspiracize about that. I've got my own opinions about it. I think there's a lot of things. I'm probably going to withhold those until some more information comes out. But I'm going to tell you what. I don't believe a 64-year-old man that's a multimillionaire gambler, real estate investor with multiple houses, multiple planes, and everything to live for, went and opened up with thousands of rounds on a crowd on his own or at all. I really don't. I really don't think that's what happened. And the jury's still out in my mind. Dave, I don't know what your thoughts are, but that's where I'm leaning. You got to learn how to type and talk, bro.
I don't know how to do both at the same time.
Multitask.
Because then I forget what I'm saying or forget what I'm typing and mess it all up.
Yeah.
But in the chat, there's just a question that I'm just going to answer through chat of why do the churches not have to pay tax? But if you
that's actually a good one.
Yeah.
So we'll keep talking here, man. I was just talking about the atrocity that is the investigation, guys. The timeline.
And I know you've done a lot of.
I've done a lot of research. It's like it doesn't consume me, guys, but it is a passion. And one other thing, I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened. And back to this really, really, really great investigator, Laura Loomer. She's been front and center. She's been at some of these press conferences where the sheriff is involved with and side-straddled with FBI agents. And the latest one, a week or this past Friday, I believe. Guys, you can go look at this, man. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that looks like he's under duress, that looks like he's scripted, that looks like he's being forced to say things and carry narratives that aren't true. I mean, I'm not telling you guys what to think or believe, but that's what I believe, and I believe that there's more to this. Laura Loomer shows up in one of these, and she's got a receipt. She's got photographic evidence that Paddock and another guest, it says on the receipt, a room service ticket, that there was 2 guests served in a hotel room on the 25th. Then why would the FBI be pushing a narrative that Paddock didn't check in until the 28th, right? So there's a 3-day discrepancy. I mean, come on, the FBI can't figure that out? It wouldn't be a matter of record? Another thing, where's all the security footage? You mean to tell me they go in the MGM, or excuse me, in the Mandalay, and there's a camera. I mean, I'm this is absolutely joking around. There's probably a camera watching you use the bathroom. There's so many cameras in these places. There's no way these guns got in there. There's no way the people that came in and out of that room, including Paddock, didn't get multiple photographed or videoed countless minutes and hours of footage. Where is it? Where's the video from the 32nd floor? Where's all the interviews for all the neighbors on the 32nd floor? Where's all the people that paralleled him? Where's all the interviews? Why is all of the evidence that's been brought forward in the point of eyewitness contacts, when they turn over their cell phones and they turn over their digital data, why are they getting their property back wiped? Why, I mean, I could keep going. Why is that? Those are good questions. Those are not conspiratorial questions. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm asking good questions. Guys, a guy could go downtown Washington, PA, pull the trigger on somebody and kill somebody, and I can guarantee you in less than a minute, 30 minutes or an hour or 6 or a day, they're going to know a motive. They're going to know everything about the guy. They're going to know everything. Now, granted, I know this is more complex. This is 2+ weeks going, and they don't have a motive on a guy that commits the biggest mass murder in U.S. history. They don't have a timeline lying down. They don't know exactly where this supposed hero comes in or doesn't. They don't know anything. And this is the most powerful investigative arm in the U.S. government, and they don't know anything. It's an absolute joke. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. There's so many answers that.
You mean questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's so many questions that are. See, I can't type and talk at the same time. There's so many questions that are left unanswered.
Yeah.
And just so many holes in that it just, as more and more things are revealed, it just,
More
for
and more
me,
questions.
it gets, and more questions, things get more and more clouded. When it was first reported of the shooting, it sounded to me that, the dude broke the window and he just blew up his gun.
Yeah.
You see these videos of, meltdown of an AR-15, and you're just
finally just locks up.
just to heat up. And that's what it sounded like happened, that he just unloaded.
Gun after gun after gun after gun.
Yeah, magazine after magazine after magazine, thousands of rounds.
Yeah.
Shot downstream in this relatively short time period.
9 minutes, 11, somewhere in there.
But then when you hear the one video clip that you had sent.
That long one, right? 17 minutes?
Yeah, about the helicopter theory and those things. It really wasn't like that. It was...
a couple of single shots, too, at the beginning.
Yeah, that's without a doubt.
Yeah.
A couple of single shots, and then...
And overlapping
and then an opening,
trajectories,
and then
too.
they stop, and then some more shooting, they stop, and then two different
Right.
sounds. But if you guys... Did you talk about that YouTube video for them to go to look at it?
Which one? That one?
Yeah.
No, we haven't, guys. We'll look it up or pull it up or put it on our URL up. But, yeah, there's a great video up that's about 17 minutes long. And now, guys, it does tie into another theory that even possibly, there was shooters coming from a helicopter. And, I'm really not gonna go into that because that's so far-fetched. And, is it a theory? I guess so. Because here's the thing, guys. When you don't have any answers, then any answer is possible, right? And that's what they're feeding here. So, the thing is, here's the other thing. I don't care how old you are. If you got that many weapons in a room, Dave, and you got that many stacked up magazines ready to go, and you got multiple targets and multiple openings to shoot multiple guns at freedom, but on video... There's lulls in gunfire as much as 15, 20, 30 seconds.
Oh, easy.
You mean to tell me the guy doesn't have another magazine to throw? Guys, I'm ex-military. I'm a Marine. Blindfold me, I could throw a magazine and a gun and keep rocking. How could you have lulls with this guy having 10 or 15 guns in there, manufactured, modified to be modified to be fully automatic with bump stocks, apparently. Countless magazines. You mean to tell me this guy's going to have a lull of 10 or 15 or 20 seconds at points in between his firing? This guy would have went out in a hell of bullets before he would have had to lull 15 or 20 or 30 seconds, right, Dave?
Yeah.
There's another question. And it almost sounds like, guys, there's countless witnesses that even think that they were being chased in the crowd with guns. There's also audio of overlapping. Yeah. Now, I know there's echo, right? There's echo. Huge buildings.
But
you're going to...
it's two different...
But it's two different calibers,
sounds. Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, guys. I'm just, and I'm bringing this up to you guys. I'm just asking you to ask. I'm a Reaganite, and you know what that means? I trust, but I verify. In other words, I'm going to take what you tell me, but I'm fixing to go vet it. And I'm going to put proof and fact and truth to it, and if it doesn't pan out, I'm going to assess and come up with another theory that does come up with the truth and the facts. Guys, too many people, the public involved, they love to look at things on the face value, and they love to drink the Kool-Aid and believe the first thing they've been told. This is an absolute joke of an investigation, period. Dave.
Mm-hmm. Amen. It's just... It baffles me, the whole thing.
How about the timing of all these other things coming out, right? How about what came out like right after this or coincides with this? The Uranium Deal has been exposed. There was something to do with Clinton. Oh well, now the Dems are really reaching. They're supposedly he didn't pay adequate respect to a 5-star family or a gold star family. Yesterday or something hit the fan that he didn't show enough sensitivity to a phone call that he gave. How about the fact that he gave a phone call, which I believe, and he even stated he tries to give a phone call to everybody that's lost a loved one that fighting for this country. Is that not amazing? We can't say as much for Obama. I don't know how many he did or didn't call, but I know President Trump's calling these folks. And so, they're twisting everything they can just to deflect and to, negate the truth right now.
And then, so conspiracy theorists unite. What if this whole Vegas thing was to take our attention away from some of these things that have just come out?
Or vice versa. Right, because that happens, and then these other events happen that then dilute the effect in the media, right? They quit. In fact, it's not even front page news. In fact, Sean, Tucker, Hannity, Hannity is Sean, duh. Sean Hannity, Tucker, Brett Baer, they don't even put very long plugs in there, because now Weinstein and the Uranium One deal, which are very notable, don't get me wrong, but that has diluted the validity of the massacre to a point where now people aren't even asking questions. And you know what scares me to death the most? If it fades to a point where we don't ever get the answers, and public interest fades to a point where people like even Laura Loomer and some of these top-notch reporters just find it frivolous to even keep trying to look. We need to keep looking.
Yeah, try to find some answers.
Well, guys, we're almost out of time here.
Yeah. Thank you guys for all joining us today in the show. Don't forget, I think on the video you should be able to subscribe.
Please subscribe. Please follow.
And
please share.
And always join us for the chat. Ask questions. I'm glad that Big Blue was in here and joined us and asked some questions there about and even tax status. And if you're with us on there, you see the answers that I gave for that. And if you have questions and you're watching this later on, you didn't think to ask a question during the live chat, you can always email us at truthhourradio@gmail.com. truthhourradio@gmail.com.
Awesome. And Zinedine, thanks for that. Shane drops the mic. Yeah. And so Zinedine, Lauren, Big Blue, Aaron, TM Skills, I don't know if anybody else is on. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. You are the reason we're here. We want more of you guys on here. We want a bigger audience. Please help us get there. We know you can do it. We try to bring relevant, factual information with, political opinion and analysis. We're both conservatives. We do believe in conservative values and truth and fact. And guys, we try our best every week to bring you just that. So thank you so much for another great week. Please email us your questions. Please get in touch with us. Next week will be another great week.
Yep.
So
next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and join us then.
We love you guys.
Hey, God bless.
Peace out.
Take care.